trying a different kind of PowerPoint here that was inspired by Sarefo's presentation last year. If it works, I thank him. If it fails, it's my fault. Let's start with a rousing cliche slide. We've all seen this one, right? Let's deconstruct it a little bit. Look how serious these little children are. They're clearly totally immersed in their technology. And I think the subtext here is that technology is going to lead us to a better world. These children are going to grow up into it. Their future is bright. It's so bright they're not even laughing. But of course, technology is not a straight line proposition. It's a very disruptive proposition. It is, for every technological planned consequence, there's an unintended consequence. And technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in a social and economic context. And it's full of disruption. What kind of disruption? Well, for example, we all know that through technology and the web in particular, people can find each other in very new ways. Ahead of myself here, hold on. So this is a site called change.org. If I draw your attention to the right side, it's the Act Now. And this is one of many sites around the world that are not only trying to draw you into their agenda online, but then trying to funnel you into online actions. This is the site of the 350th International Day of Climate Action. It was heavily web-driven, and it resulted in over 5,200 events in more than 180 countries. Physical events. So some online sites drive you to work offline. So we're hearing voices we've never heard before, not all of which make us feel entirely comfortable. I think this is a really interesting slide. This is the website of the Tea Party campaign in the United States, and for many people, the Obama campaign was a model of how to use the internet to engage. And I think there was a profound hope among people who supported Obama that after his victory, this community that had been mobilized on the web would continue as a community and would use those tools to support his agendas. What's happened has been almost the opposite of that. The community that voted Obama in retreated into their own private Obama mind, and a lot of disappointment with how his presidency has not acted on their individual agendas. Meanwhile, the right, or as we like to call them, the lunatic right, has seized this same medium and is organizing incredibly effectively to let us know that our president is a Muslim. Still, there's no denying the massive game-changing nature of the digital age in terms of empowering new constituencies. I think in the next 3 slides is the toothpaste slides. As in the saying that once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's hard to get it back in. Again, though, technology is disruptive. What the web giveth, the web can taketh away. Here are a couple of slides showing the toothpaste being squeezed back into the tube. So this phenomenon, web activists being located by their internet footprint, is being used by increasingly technologically sophisticated repressive governments. It's happening in Iran, Russia, Thailand, and China, to name a few. They figured out that you don't have to go and capture the activists at the rally. You can let them rally, you can act, more or less patient, and then you can pick them off one by one because you can find them on the web. So, back to disruption. It's not really a warm and cuddly word, is it? I mean, if you wanted to be invited to a dinner party, you wouldn't say, I'd like to come over to your house tonight and be extremely disruptive. But the second and third definitions are more positive. And basically, I think disruption means the opposite of business as usual. And is that a good thing? Well, I guess it depends on what your usual business was. There's one particular disruption driven by technology that I personally see as hugely positive. Indeed, I think it's so positive as to be our best hope for surviving all the other disruptions. And I think it's directly relevant to this conference. I would argue that technology's evolution in general, and most particularly in the era of the web, encompassing microprocessor speed, access to broadband, proliferation of mobile and cloud-based technology, has positively disrupted human relations. I would argue that we now form empathic bonds across much wider spheres than was ever considered conceivable, and that the fact that we can do this is profoundly reinforcing and motivational. And so, because of all the above, we now can and we want to work with each other, collaborate in previously unimaginable ways. And I'm not talking about having 5,000 friends on Facebook or what we call in the States slacktivism, signing online petitions and patting yourself on the back and thinking you've made a difference. I'm talking about making very specific changes in the world. Well, how did that slide get up there? What does Angelina Jolie have to do with anything? But what I would argue is that she and Brad Pitt and Bono and all the other celebrities who are cheerleading for social change all over the web are perhaps the most disruptive part of the whole scene. Not because they are necessarily significant leaders or thinkers as individuals, but because they symbolize how totally cool and normative it has become to advocate for change, and on a more granular level, to work in an open, collaborative way, across distance, across demographic barriers, often with total strangers, toward mutually agreed upon values-based goals. And whatever you might think of the Tea Party, that's what they're doing. They share values and they're working together, often with people they haven't known. So somehow, in some weird disruptive fashion, nice has become the new black, as they say in the fashion industry. And there's a well-known phenomenon where a change in quantity becomes a change in quality. And it's basically the idea encapsulated in the phrase tipping point. And I'm arguing that a kind of tipping point has been reached in terms of where people find motivation and meaning. They're finding it increasingly in their relationships to others around shared values, which are no longer tightly constrained by economics and geography. And embracing this new ethos not only feels good, but if you do it right, it's a profound competitive advantage. And as a case in point, I'll use my own organization. So this is our partner summit in 2009. There are representatives of 20 countries around the world in our network, or there were then in 2009. Today, a year and a half later, a few numbers for you. We have 180 staff in 8 US states and 2 other countries. We partner, including sharing revenue, with 31 organizations in 33 countries on all the not yet frozen continents. We administer programs on behalf of 40 technology companies and 20 foundations. We catalyze and support 72 monthly social media for social change meetups in 20 countries. We're a relatively big nonprofit, but we don't have nearly enough money to pay people to do all of that, to do everything that needs to be done. We depend on many people collaborating on our staff, off our staff, in good faith, at the very highest level of their skills and commitment. And this all happens, in my opinion, the reason we committed to this approach, because 10 years ago a funder gave us a fairly large grant and said, I hope you'll make your motto, winner shares all, not winner takes all. And we thought, that sounds right. We even have 3 CEOs. We're a little over the top in it. And we, sometimes I think that's about 2 CEOs too many. But we think it's very consistent with the technology we're supporting and the collaborative ethos. So, this slide and the next are about the last 2 winners of the Gates Global Library Access to Learning Award. Sorry, I missed here. And one is from Colombia and one is from Greece. There are huge differences in circumstances, but huge similarity and deep commitment to innovative collaboration. And I've highlighted the collaborative aspects on the slides. Now, my main main point to you is that libraries can be and should be not just collaborators, but the very best collaborators. So when you think about collaboration, there was a point in the dot-com boom when everything was a partnership. If you bought coffee, from a coffee shop, you were in a partnership with the coffee shop. That's not collaboration. Collaboration is a time-consuming process. It's an intense process. It demands that each collaborator bring real assets to the table. Libraries have assets. They have relationships to funding. They have physical spaces. And it also demands a certain kind of person. You have to put your sort of park your ego at the door for the basis of collaboration. I don't want to idealize people in the library world, even though it might play well in this room, but I think that people who go into library work generally don't do it out of ego, and don't do it to be big stars, and do it out of a real commitment to sharing information and to supporting the common good. And those two qualities, the presence of real assets and the presence of an outlook that is truly collaborative, can make libraries, I think, stars in the collaborative, larger collaborative world. So take a minute, if you would, to read the blue section and think about your own library, your own work. These two projects, this one in Colombia and this one in Greece, both succeeded because they reached out in very, very different ways to their communities. They put their assets in play with others, and they stayed the course. So, with that, I'll leave you. Here's to collaboration. Here's to disruption. Here are my coordinates. Thank you very much.